The hegemony battle group dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system, like a pack of predators surrounding wounded prey. Admiral Kethmar of the Crystalline Nexari commanded the fleet from her flagship, a massive vessel that bristled with enough weapons to destroy entire planets. "Scan the system," she ordered in her sharp musical voice. "Find the human vessel and eliminate it. No evidence of their presence must remain." Commander Vextar's patrol ship had reported suspicious activity, and follow-up investigation had revealed energy signatures that should not exist in this dead system. The Hegemony Science Council had identified the readings as possibly human in origin, which had triggered an immediate military response. The Hegemony could not allow humans to develop advanced technology in secret. Humanity was supposed to be a young species, barely capable of interstellar travel. They were useful as laborers and soldiers, but not as equals. The carefully maintained balance of galactic power depended on keeping them in their place. "Admiral," reported the sensor operator, "we are detecting massive electromagnetic interference from the red dwarf. It is making detailed scans difficult." "Then we move closer," Kethmar replied. "Deploy the fleet in a search pattern. Whatever the humans are hiding here, we will find it." But as the hegemony ships approached the star, they began to detect something impossible. Energy readings that matched no known technology. Gravitational anomalies that suggested structures far larger than any human vessel should be. And then, emerging from the star's radiation field like ghosts becoming solid, came the Eternal Dawn and her escort vessels. "What is that?" gasped the sensor operator. On the main display, a human ship of impossible size moved slowly through space. Its hull bore the scars of centuries, but its power signatures showed technology that rivaled or exceeded hegemony standards. Smaller vessels flanked it, their designs clearly human but incorporating principles that should not exist. "Impossible," Admiral Kethmar whispered. "Humans do not possess such capabilities." The communication system activated, and a calm human voice filled the bridge. "Hegemony vessels, this is Director Han Mi-Ray of the colony ship Eternal Dawn. You are trespassing in our home system. Please state your intentions." "Your home system?" Kethmar snarled. "This system is claimed by the hegemony under the Treaty of Galactic Expansion. No human settlements are authorized in this region." "The Treaty of Galactic Expansion was signed 150 years ago," Mi-Ray replied calmly. "The Eternal Dawn has been in this system for over 3 centuries. Our claim predates your treaty by a considerable margin." The Admiral felt her crystalline structure vibrating with anger. "Impossible. Human interstellar capability does not date back that far. Perhaps you should reconsider your assumptions about human capabilities," came the response. On the Eternal Dawn's bridge, Tejo watched the tactical display as Aegis tracked the movements of the hegemony fleet. The alien ships were spreading out, trying to surround the human vessels. It was a classic intimidation formation, designed to make surrender seem like the only reasonable option. "They are going to demand we submit to boarding and inspection," Mi-Ray said. "When we refuse, they will open fire." "Not if we fire first," suggested Dr. Dongwu from his position at the science station. "No," Tejo said firmly. "Violence plays into their narrative. They want to portray humans as aggressive and dangerous. We need to show them something else." Somin was studying the sensor readings from the hegemony ships. Their technology is advanced, but it follows predictable patterns. They rely on brute force rather than elegant solutions. "What are you thinking?" Wu Jin asked. "I am thinking that we have something they do not," she replied. 300 years of human innovation focused on survival and efficiency. Maybe it is time to demonstrate the difference." Mi-Ray activated the ship's internal communication system. "All sections, this is the director. Implement Protocol 7. Show our guests what human engineering can accomplish." Throughout the massive ship, systems that had been dormant for decades came online. The Eternal Dawn had been built for survival, but its descendants had spent centuries making it into something far more capable. The first thing the hegemony fleet noticed was the energy output. The human ship's power levels spiked to readings that should have been impossible for a vessel of its size. Then the smaller escort vessels began to move in patterns that defied conventional physics, making turns and accelerations that no normal spacecraft could achieve. "Admiral," the sensor operator reported with growing alarm, "the human vessels are generating energy fields we cannot identify. Their movement capabilities exceed our own by significant margins." Admiral Kethmar studied the tactical display with growing unease. The human ships were not preparing for battle in any way she recognized. Instead, they seemed to be demonstrating technologies that challenged everything the hegemony believed about human capabilities. "Sir," came another report. "We are receiving a transmission on all hegemony frequencies simultaneously. The humans are broadcasting to every ship in the galaxy." "Cut the transmission," Kethmar ordered. "I cannot, sir. They are using some kind of quantum communication system that bypasses our security protocols. The message is reaching every hegemony vessel, station, and colony." On screens throughout hegemony space, the image of Han Mi-Ray appeared. Behind her, the ancient human colony ship hung in space like a monument to human persistence. "People of the galaxy," she began. "For 3 centuries, the colony ship Eternal Dawn has observed galactic civilization from the shadows. We have watched as the hegemony built its power on the assumption that humanity was young and primitive. Today, we reveal the truth." The transmission showed technical specifications that made hegemony scientists gasp in disbelief. Faster-than-light communication systems that operated without relay stations, energy generation that produced no waste products, manufacturing techniques that could build complex structures from basic materials found in any star system. "Humanity did not begin its journey to the stars yesterday," Mi-Ray continued. "We have been exploring space for over 3 centuries, developing technologies that prioritize efficiency and sustainability over raw power. We have not sought to dominate others, but to survive and thrive in the cosmos." Admiral Kethmar watched in horror as the transmission continued. Every secret advantage the hegemony possessed was being challenged by technologies that seemed almost magical in their elegance. "This changes everything," whispered her tactical officer. "If humans possess this level of technology, then our entire power structure is built on false assumptions," Kethmar finished. "We told ourselves that humans were primitive because it justified our dominance. But if they have been advanced all along, the transmission was not just reaching hegemony forces. Throughout the galaxy, other species that had been oppressed or marginalized by the 7-species coalition were watching with growing excitement. Humanity had proven that the hegemony was not invincible, that their technological superiority was not absolute. On the Eternal Dawn, Aegis reported the results of the broadcast. "Director, we are receiving responses from 47 different species. Many are requesting more information about human technology. Several are offering alliances or trade agreements." Tejo smiled as he watched the hegemony fleet hesitate in space. The alien ships had come here to destroy evidence of human advancement, but instead they had become witnesses to humanity's true capabilities. "What are they waiting for?" Wujin asked, watching the tactical display. "For orders from someone higher up the chain of command," Mi-Ray replied. "Admiral Kethmar cannot make a decision this big on her own. The Hegemony Council will need to decide how to respond to a complete shift in galactic power dynamics. And while they are deciding," Somin added with a grin, "every hour that passes gives more species time to see the truth about human capabilities." The balance of power in the galaxy was shifting, and everyone knew it. The question now was whether the hegemony would accept the new reality or try to fight against it. Either way, humanity would never again be dismissed as primitive newcomers to the cosmic community. The docking bay of the Eternal Dawn was unlike anything Tejo had ever seen. The walls showed their age, with metal that had been repaired and replaced countless times over the centuries. But the technology was clearly more advanced than what the ship should have possessed when it left Earth. Artificial gravity held them firmly to the deck as they walked through an airlock that sealed behind them with a soft hiss. The air was clean and breathable, though it carried a faint metallic taste that spoke of recycling systems that had been running for hundreds of years. "Atmospheric composition is normal," Somin reported, checking her portable scanner. "Oxygen levels are actually higher than standard Earth normal. Temperature is comfortable. Whoever is running this ship knows how to maintain life support." A soft voice spoke from hidden speakers in the walls. "Welcome aboard the Eternal Dawn. I am Aegis, the ship's autonomous emergency guidance and intelligence system. Please proceed to the central meeting chamber. Director Han Mi-Ray is waiting to speak with you." The corridors they walked through told the story of centuries of human ingenuity. Original ship components sat next to clearly homemade improvements. Wall panels had been replaced with materials that Tejo did not recognize. Lighting systems use technology that seemed decades ahead of anything currently available on Earth. "This is impossible," Wu Jin muttered as they passed a maintenance bay where robotic arms were repairing hull damage. "These people have been isolated for 300 years. How do they have technology we have never seen?" "Maybe isolation was exactly what they needed," Taeho replied. "No outside interference, no wars, no politics. Just pure research and development for centuries." The meeting chamber was located at the heart of the ship. When the doors opened, Taeho found himself looking at a woman who appeared to be in her 40s, though her eyes held the wisdom of someone much older. Her features were clearly human, but something about her seemed different. Her movements were too graceful, too precise. Her skin had a faint luminescence that suggested genetic modifications. "My name is Han Mi-Ray," she said with a slight smile. "I am the current director of the Eternal Dawn Colony. Please sit, we have much to discuss." The chairs around the conference table were clearly designed for human comfort, but made from materials that felt strange under Taeho's hands. Everything in the room spoke of advanced technology applied to basic human needs. "You are the descendants of the original colonists," Taeho said. It was not a question. "We are," Mi-Ray confirmed, "though we have changed considerably since our ancestors left Earth. 3 centuries of isolation and genetic optimization have made us different from baseline humanity." So-Min leaned forward. "How many of you are there?" "Currently about 12,000. We maintain a stable population through careful genetic planning and life extension technologies. Most of our people live between 200 and 300 years. Wu Jin looked skeptical. "That is impossible. Humans do not live that long." Mi-Ray's smile widened slightly. "Humans did not live that long when you left Earth. We have had centuries to work on the problem. When you are trapped on a ship with limited resources and brilliant minds, you learn to make improvements." She gestured to the walls around them. The Eternal Dawn was designed to support 50,000 colonists for a journey of perhaps 50 years. When we realized the journey would take much longer, we had to adapt or die. We chose to adapt, Aegis spoke from the room speakers. The colony faced 17 major crises during the journey. Each time, human ingenuity found solutions that required advancing our technology beyond its original limitations. "Show them," Mi-Ray said. The walls of the meeting chamber became transparent, revealing the view outside the ship. Taeho gasped as he saw not one vessel, but dozens of smaller craft connected to the main ship by flexible tunnels. The entire structure was massive, larger than some space stations. "We have been building," Mi-Ray explained. "Mining asteroids, constructing additional habitats, developing new technologies. The Eternal Dawn is no longer just a ship, it is a complete civilization." "But why stay hidden?" Taeho asked. "Why not make contact with Earth or the other human colonies?" Mi-Ray's expression grew serious. "Because we monitored your communications for decades before the hegemony made first contact. We heard how the galaxy viewed humanity. Primitive, aggressive, barely worthy of notice. We realized that revealing ourselves might not be safe." She activated a holographic display that showed star charts of the galaxy. "The hegemony controls most of the core systems. They have spent centuries building a narrative that places them at the center of galactic civilization. The existence of advanced human technology 300 years old would challenge that narrative." Dr. Kim Dong-woo entered the chamber, an elderly man whose age was difficult to determine. His hair was white, but his movements were those of someone decades younger. "I have been analyzing your ship," he said to Taeho's team. "Impressive work, especially the modifications to your engines and sensors. But we can offer you improvements that would increase your capabilities by orders of magnitude." So-Min's eyes lit up. "What kind of improvements?" "Faster-than-light communication systems. Shielding that can withstand stellar radiation indefinitely. Power sources that could run for centuries without maintenance." He smiled. "We have had a lot of time to experiment." "The question," Mi-Ray said, "is what happens now? You have found us as we always knew someone eventually would. The question is what you plan to do with that knowledge." Taeho thought carefully before answering. "That depends on what you want. Are you ready to rejoin the rest of humanity?" "Some of us are," Mi-Ray replied. "Others prefer our isolation. We have built something unique here. Something that could be lost if we become part of the larger galactic community too quickly." Aegis interrupted with an urgent tone. "Director, I am detecting hegemony vessels approaching the system. Multiple ships moving at high speed. Estimated arrival in 6 hours. The room fell silent. Wu Jin checked his communication device. That patrol commander must have reported our presence. If they find us here, they will destroy everything, Mireille finished. The hegemony cannot allow proof of advanced human civilization to exist. It challenges too many of their fundamental beliefs about galactic hierarchy. Dr. Dongwu stood up. We have defensive systems, but not enough to fight an entire hegemony battle group. How many ships? Taiho asked. Aegis is detecting 12 vessels, including 2 heavy cruisers, Mireille reported. They are not coming to talk. Taiho felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. His search for the eternal dawn had led the hegemony straight to these people. Now their 300-year-old secret was about to be destroyed because of his curiosity. There has to be another way, he said. These people have survived this long by being clever. They must have contingency plans. Mireille nodded slowly. We do, but executing them means abandoning 3 centuries of careful construction. Everything we have built here would be lost, not everything, Somin said suddenly. The technology, the knowledge, the people. Those can be preserved. But maybe it is time to stop hiding. What do you mean? Dr. Dongwu asked. I mean, maybe it is time to show the galaxy what humanity is really capable of, she replied. Not by fighting, but by being so impressive that fighting becomes pointless. Taiho began to smile. You are thinking what I am thinking. That 12 hegemony ships are about to get the surprise of their lives when they discover that humans have been more advanced than anyone realized for the past 300 years. Mireille looked between them. You want to reveal ourselves to them directly. I want to reveal yourselves to everyone, Taiho said. The entire galaxy needs to know that human civilization is older and more capable than they have been told. And I think you have exactly the tools needed to make sure that message gets heard. 3 days later, the Seeker's Edge approached the outer markers of hegemony space. Wu Jin had managed to acquire transit codes from a smuggler friend, though he warned they would only fool automated systems, not a detailed inspection. Remember, Wu Jin said as they crossed the border, we are stellar researchers from the University of Mars. We are here to study the effects of red dwarf radiation on cosmic dust formations. Somin had loaded their computers with enough fake research data to make the story believable. She had even created false academic credentials that would pass a basic background check. But Taiho knew that if they ran into serious hegemony security, their cover would not hold. The target system appeared on their screens after 2 days of travel. It looked empty except for a dying red dwarf star that flickered and pulsed with unstable energy. According to the star charts, nothing lived here. No planets, no stations, no reason for anyone to visit. Sensors are picking up massive electromagnetic interference from the star, Somin reported. Any ship trying to hide here would be almost invisible to standard detection systems. Taiho studied the readings carefully. The interference is not random. Look at the patterns. They repeat every 47 minutes, so what? Wu Jin asked. So if you were trying to hide a large object, you would time your movements to match those patterns. Use the star's own emissions to mask your signature. Somin began running calculations on her computer. If something large was moving in a slow orbit around the star, staying in the interference zones, yes, it could remain hidden for centuries. Unknown vessel, identify yourself. The transmission came without warning. On the main screen, a hegemony patrol ship appeared, its sleek design bristling with weapons. The ship was twice the size of the Seeker's Edge and far more advanced. Wu Jin activated their communication system with steady hands. This is the research vessel Seeker's Edge, operating under Transit Permit 77 Alpha. We are conducting stellar research approved by the Hegemony Science Council. A moment later, the patrol ship's commander appeared on screen. He was a Krathari, with 6 arms and compound eyes that could track multiple targets at once. His name was Commander Vextar, according to the data that scrolled across their display. Research vessel, Vextar said in accented human speech. This system is restricted. No research permits have been issued for this location. Taiho felt his stomach drop, but Somin smoothly took over the conversation. Commander, our permit covers all red dwarf systems in grid section 12. We are specifically studying how stellar instability affects cosmic dust formation patterns. She transmitted a stream of scientific data that sounded impressive, but meant nothing. Taiho watched Vextar's expression as the alien commander tried to make sense of the information. Your research involves examining dust? Vextar asked suspiciously. Cosmic dust formation is crucial to understanding stellar evolution, So-Min explained with the confidence of someone who had memorized university textbooks. This star's unusual pulse patterns make it perfect for our study. We will only need a few days to complete our observations. The Krathari commander was quiet for several long minutes. Tae-ho could see him consulting with someone off-screen, probably checking their credentials against hegemony databases. Very well, Vextar finally said. You have 48 hours to complete your research. Do not approach within 1 million kilometers of the star, and transmit your findings to patrol headquarters before you leave the system. The patrol ship moved away, but Tae-ho noticed it did not leave the system entirely. They were being watched. Well done, he told So-Min, but now we actually have to find something, and we only have 2 days to do it. So-Min began deploying every sensor they had, scanning the space around the red dwarf for any sign of the eternal dawn. The electromagnetic interference made their job difficult, but she managed to filter out most of the background noise. There, she said after several hours of searching. Look at this gravitational anomaly. Something massive is affecting the star's gravitational field, but I cannot see what. Tae-ho studied the data. The gravitational reading suggested an object roughly the size of a large asteroid, but the sensors showed nothing in that location. What if it is not hiding behind technology? He asked suddenly. What if it is hiding behind physics? What do you mean? The star's radiation is not just electromagnetic interference. It is also charged particles, plasma streams, all kinds of energy. What if the ship is using that energy as camouflage? So-Min's eyes widened. You mean it is actually inside the star's outer atmosphere? That is insane. The radiation would destroy any normal ship in minutes. But the Eternal Dawn was not a normal ship, Tae-ho pointed out. It was designed to keep 50,000 people alive for decades in deep space. The radiation shielding would have been the best humanity could build. Woo-jin looked skeptical. Even so, 300 years of stellar radiation exposure would turn any ship into scrap metal. Unless they found ways to repair and improve their shielding during the journey, Tae-ho said. Remember, we are talking about humanity's best engineers and scientists, with centuries to work on the problem. So-Min began adjusting their sensors to look for metallic objects within the star's radiation field. It took hours of careful scanning, but eventually she found what they were looking for. There, she whispered, roughly 800 kilometers beneath the star's photosphere. It is huge, maybe 20 kilometers long. The shape is consistent with a human colony ship design. Tae-ho felt his heart racing. Can you get a clearer image? Not from this distance. We would have to get closer, but the radiation levels would kill us, Woo-jin finished. Even our best shielding would not protect us for more than a few minutes. Tae-ho thought about the problem. How do you approach something hidden in a star's atmosphere without getting fried by radiation? The answer came to him suddenly. We do not approach it, he said. We wait for it to approach us. What? Look at the orbital data. The object is moving in a slow orbit around the star, staying in the radiation zones for protection, but orbits decay over time. Every few hours it has to come closer to the surface to maintain its position. So-Min checked her calculations. You are right. In about 6 hours it will pass through a region where the radiation levels are low enough for us to get closer. And if we time it right, Tae-ho continued, we can intercept it during that window. They spent the next few hours preparing. So-Min boosted their radiation shielding as much as possible and programmed a precise intercept course. Woo-jin checked and rechecked their engines, making sure they could make the approach quickly and get out before the radiation killed them. When the time came, they watched their sensors as the massive object emerged from the star's photosphere, like a whale surfacing from deep ocean. For the first time in 3 centuries, the Eternal Dawn was visible to the outside universe. My God, So-Min breathed. It is real. The ship was enormous, larger than any human vessel Tae-ho had ever seen. Its hull was scarred and pitted from centuries of radiation exposure, but it was still intact, still functional. Running lights blinked along its length and energy readings showed that the ship's power systems were active. There are life signs, So-Min reported, her voice filled with wonder, faint but definitely present. Someone is still alive on that ship. As they watched, a docking bay opened on the side of the massive vessel. A signal reached their communication system, transmitted on an old human frequency that had not been used in over 200 years. Unknown vessel. This is the colony ship Eternal Dawn. Welcome to our little corner of nowhere. Please dock in Bay 7. We have been waiting a very long time to talk to someone from home. The cargo bay of Nexus Prime hummed with activity as traders from across the galaxy hawked their wares. Lee Tae-ho moved through the crowd with practiced ease, his eyes scanning for anything unusual. As the galaxy's most famous human relic hunter, he had learned to spot treasures that others overlooked. Tae-ho was different from other treasure hunters. While they relied on expensive scanners and alien technology, he trusted his gut feelings and his ability to think like the people who had left the artifacts behind. This approach had made him rich and famous, but more importantly, it had helped him find pieces of human history that everyone thought were lost forever. His ship, the Seeker's Edge, waited in Docking Bay 7. It was not much to look at from the outside, but Park So-min had filled it with the best equipment they could afford. So-min was more than just his engineer. She was his partner in every sense that mattered. She understood old human technology better than anyone alive. Captain Yoon Woo-jin was probably in the ship's cockpit, checking flight systems and monitoring station security feeds. The former Earth Defense Force officer never relaxed completely, always watching for trouble. Tae-ho was grateful for that paranoia more times than he could count. A weak voice called out from a shadowy corner of the marketplace. "Human, are you the one they call the finder of lost things?" Tae-ho turned to see a Valyrian merchant slumped against a cargo container. The alien's blue skin had turned pale and his breathing was labored. Valyrians were known for living long lives, but this one looked like he was dying. "I am Tae-ho," he said, kneeling beside the merchant. "What do you need?" The Valyrian's hand shook as he pulled out a small data chip. "My name is Crix. I have carried this burden for too long. Take it. Find what it points to, but beware. The knowledge it contains could change everything." Tae-ho accepted the chip carefully. "What kind of knowledge?" "A ship," Crix whispered. "A human ship that should not exist. The Eternal Dawn. 300 years old, maybe more. The coordinates. They point to impossible places." The human frowned. "The first human colony ships barely made it past our own solar system 300 years ago. None of them had the range to reach deep space." "That is what makes it impossible," Crix said with a weak smile. "But I have seen proof. Fragments of hull metal with human markings. Energy signatures that match nothing in current databases. The ship exists, human. It waits in hegemony space." Tae-ho's blood went cold. The hegemony controlled most of the galaxy's core systems. 7 alien species who viewed humans as primitive newcomers barely worth noticing. Entering their space without permission was suicide. "Why give this to me?" Tae-ho asked. "Because humans think differently," Crix replied. "Where others see impossible puzzles, you see patterns. Where others give up, you find new ways forward. If anyone can find the Eternal Dawn, it is you." The Valyrian's eyes closed and his breathing stopped. Tae-ho sat back on his heels staring at the data chip. Around him, the marketplace continued its busy rhythm, unaware that everything might have just changed. Back on the Seeker's Edge, So-min inserted the chip into her analysis system. Lines of data flowed across her screens as she worked to decode the information. "This is strange," she said, frowning at the display. "The coordinates are real, but they point to a system in the heart of hegemony space. The energy readings, I have never seen anything like them." Woo-jin leaned over her shoulder. "Could be a trap. The hegemony loves to catch humans where they do not belong." "No," Tae-ho said slowly. "This feels different. Look at the metal samples in the database. The molecular structure is definitely human, but the manufacturing techniques are more advanced than anything we have now." So-min enhanced the image on her screen. The hull plating shows microfractures consistent with centuries of exposure to cosmic radiation. If this is fake, someone spent a lot of time making it look authentic. "There is something else," she continued, pulling up another file. The data fragment contains partial ship schematics. The design is human, but it incorporates technologies we only developed in the last 50 years. How could a 300-year-old ship have modern tech? Tae-ho studied the schematics carefully. His parents had been archaeologists who specialized in early human space exploration. They had disappeared when he was young, searching for proof that humans had reached farther into space than official records showed. Maybe they had been right all along. "The Eternal Dawn was one of the largest colony ships ever built," he said quietly. 50,000 colonists heading for a star system beyond our current borders. The official records say it vanished during the journey, probably destroyed by engine failure or cosmic hazards. But what if it did not get destroyed? So-min asked. What if it actually made it to its destination? Woo-jin shook his head. Impossible. The technology did not exist back then. Those old fusion drives could barely push a ship to half light speed. The journey to those coordinates would take over 1,000 years. Unless they found a way to improve their technology during the journey, Tejo said. Think about it. 50,000 of humanity's best and brightest, trapped on a ship for decades or centuries. What would they do with all that time? Somin's eyes widened. They would innovate, experiment, push the boundaries of what was possible. And if they succeeded, Tejo continued, they would have arrived at their destination with technology far beyond what they started with. Advanced enough to hide from the rest of the galaxy. Wu Jin was quiet for a long moment. You are talking about entering hegemony space based on the word of a dying alien, and some data that might be fake. If you are wrong, we all end up dead or in hegemony prison camps. And if I am right, Tejo replied, we find proof that human civilization is older and more capable than anyone believes. We find a piece of our history that could change how the galaxy sees us. He looked at his two closest friends. I am not going to order you to come with me. This is too dangerous for that, but I have to find out if the Eternal Dawn is real. Somin and Wu Jin exchanged glances. Then Somin smiled. Where you go, we go. Someone has to keep you from getting killed by your own curiosity. Wu Jin sighed and moved toward the pilot controls. I will start plotting a course, but we are going to need forged transit codes and a very good cover story. As the Seeker's Edge prepared to leave Nexus Prime, Tejo stared at the star charts showing hegemony space. Somewhere out there in a system that should be empty, the Eternal Dawn might be waiting. 3 centuries of secrets floating in the darkness. He thought about his parents and their belief that human history held more mysteries than anyone knew. Maybe it was time to prove them right. The standoff lasted 6 hours. Admiral Kethamar received increasingly frantic communications from the Hegemony High Council as they tried to decide how to respond to the revelation of advanced human technology. Some council members demanded immediate attack, while others urged caution in the face of capabilities they did not understand. During those 6 hours, the galaxy changed. The broadcast from the Eternal Dawn had reached every corner of known space. On hundreds of worlds, species that had been marginalized by hegemony dominance began to realize that the 7-species coalition was not as powerful as they claimed. If humans could develop such advanced technology in secret, what other assumptions about galactic hierarchy might be wrong? Admiral, the communications officer reported, we are receiving urgent messages from the Council. They want to know why we have not yet completed our mission. Kethmar stared at the tactical display, where the human ships maintained their positions with casual confidence. The Eternal Dawn's escort vessels continued to demonstrate impossible maneuvers, while energy readings suggested defensive capabilities that could withstand anything the hegemony fleet could throw at them. Because completing our mission may no longer be possible, she replied quietly. On the Eternal Dawn, Tejo watched the hegemony ships with growing satisfaction. The alien vessels had spread out in an attack formation, but they had not fired a single shot. Every hour of delay gave more species time to absorb the implications of human technological advancement. Aegis, what are you reading from the hegemony fleet? Mireille asked. Elevated stress indicators among the crew, Admiral. Multiple encrypted communications with their command structure. Several ships are showing signs of mechanical strain, suggesting they have been operating at high alert status for extended periods. Somin looked up from her analysis station. I am detecting something else. Some of their ships are running low on fuel. They cannot maintain this standoff indefinitely. Time is on our side, Wu Jin observed. They came here expecting to destroy a primitive human vessel and cover up the evidence. Instead, they have become witnesses to humanity's true capabilities. Dr. Dongwu entered the bridge with a satisfied expression. Director, I have been monitoring galactic communication networks. The response to our broadcast has exceeded all expectations. 17 species have formally requested diplomatic contact with the Eternal Dawn colony. 6 more have announced that they are reconsidering their treaties with the hegemony. Any word from Earth? Tejo asked. The Earth Defense Force has transmitted a formal recognition of the Eternal Dawn as a legitimate human colony. Mireille replied. They are also requesting full technological exchange agreements. The communication system activated, and Admiral Kethmar's crystalline features appeared on the main screen. The Nexari commander looked tired, and her usual confidence had been replaced by uncertainty. Human vessel, she began. I have received new orders from the Hegemony High Council. We are authorized to negotiate a diplomatic solution to this situation. Mireille smiled politely. What did you have in mind, Admiral? The Council is prepared to recognize the Eternal Dawn's claim to this system in exchange for restrictions on the spread of your advanced technologies. You would be granted autonomous status within hegemony space, but you could not share your capabilities with other species. That is not acceptable. Mireille replied without hesitation. Human technological advancement belongs to all of humanity, and we will share it with any species that approaches us in good faith. Kethmar's crystalline structure flickered with agitation. You are making a mistake. The galaxy is not ready for such rapid technological change. It could lead to chaos, wars, the collapse of established order that benefits the hegemony at the expense of everyone else. Tejo interjected. Maybe the galaxy needs some chaos. The Admiral's image wavered as she struggled to find an argument that might work. Your technologies could be dangerous in the wrong hands. Surely you understand the need for responsible control. We do, Mireille agreed. That is why we will be very careful about who we choose as partners. Species that demonstrate peaceful intentions and genuine interest in mutual cooperation will be welcomed. Those who seek to dominate others will not. Dr. Dongwu stepped forward. Admiral, perhaps you should consider what this means for your own people. The Nixari have been bound to the hegemony for centuries, but human technology could offer you new possibilities. Freedom from dependence on others, the ability to explore and develop without oversight. For a moment, Kethmar's expression softened. The Nixari had indeed been subordinate members of the hegemony coalition, never quite equal to the dominant species despite their crystalline beauty and natural mathematical abilities. The Council would never permit such arrangements, she said. Finally, the Council may not have a choice, Mireille replied. Change is coming to the galaxy whether they accept it or not. They can either adapt to the new reality or be left behind by it. Aegis interrupted with an urgent tone. Director, I am detecting new ships entering the system. Multiple vessels, approaching from different vectors. The tactical display updated to show ships from dozens of different species converging on the system. Some Tejo recognized as independent traders and explorers. Others bore the markings of species he had never encountered. What are they doing here? Wu Jin asked. Coming to see for themselves, So Min replied. The broadcast reached everyone, but seeing the Eternal Dawn in person is something else entirely. Admiral Kethmar watched the approaching ships with growing alarm. Her fleet of 12 vessels was being surrounded by a growing crowd of curious onlookers from across the galaxy. Any action she took now would be witnessed by representatives of dozens of species. Admiral, her tactical officer reported, we are receiving communication requests from multiple vessels. They want to know if the human claims are genuine. Tell them this is a restricted hegemony operation, Kethmar ordered. Sir, they are not accepting that response. Several ships are broadcasting their own messages to the galaxy, describing what they are seeing here. On the Eternal Dawn, Mireille opened communication channels to the arriving ships. Welcome to the Eternal Dawn colony. We are pleased to meet representatives of so many different species. We hope this can be the beginning of a new era of cooperation and mutual respect among all the people of the galaxy. Tejo watched as history was made. For 3 centuries, the galaxy had operated under the assumption that the hegemony represented the pinnacle of technological achievement. Now, in the space of a few hours, that assumption had been shattered. What happens now? He asked Mireille. Now we begin the real work, she replied. Building relationships, sharing knowledge, helping other species develop their own capabilities. The hegemony built their power on scarcity and control. We will build something better based on abundance and cooperation. Dr. Dongwu was already deep in conversation with scientists from several of the newly arrived ships. Plans were being made for technological exchanges, joint research projects, and diplomatic missions. The galaxy is about to become a much more interesting place, So Min observed. 6 months later, Tejo sat in his cabin aboard the Seeker's Edge, studying a new data chip that had arrived through mysterious channels. The message was simple. Another lost colony, another impossible discovery. Are you interested? The galaxy had indeed become more interesting. The revelation of the Eternal Dawn had triggered what historians were already calling the human renaissance. Earth and its colonies were no longer seen as primitive newcomers, but as a species with a deep and mysterious history. Dozens of other species had begun developing their own advanced technologies, free from hegemony restrictions. The hegemony itself was struggling to adapt. Some member species had left the coalition entirely, while others demanded radical changes to the power structure. Admiral Kethmar had been one of the first to request asylum with human forces, bringing valuable intelligence about hegemony operations. But for Tai Ho, the most important change was personal. He was no longer just hunting for artifacts from humanity's past. He was helping to build humanity's future. He looked at the new data chip and smiled. Somewhere out there, another impossible discovery was waiting to be found. Another piece of the puzzle that would show the galaxy just how deep humanity's roots really went. The hunt was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. As the Seeker's Edge prepared to depart for its next mission, Tae-ho thought about his parents and their belief that human history held more secrets than anyone knew. They had been right, but even they could not have imagined how right they were. The galaxy was vast, and humanity's story was far from finished. Every star system might hold another impossible discovery, another proof that humans had been exploring the cosmos far longer than anyone realized. Tae-ho activated his ship's navigation system and began plotting a course toward the coordinates on the new data chip. Behind him, the Eternal Dawn continued its slow orbit around the red dwarf star, no longer hiding but proudly visible to anyone who cared to look. The age of human secrecy was over. The age of human renaissance had begun.